It's easy as turning a button off and turning it back on. That's how easy it is to start a new recording. Then obviously the close. I don't know if you want to do the close. You want me to do the close? It doesn't fucking matter to me. I do it every week.
Doesn't matter. I'll do it.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I know you always seem super happy when Greed throws it to you to do it. So the number's right, 248.
Yeah, I changed everything. And 247 should be at the bottom. And it is. Yeah, everything's right as rain. Obviously, fucking we never changed anything other than I removed somebody a long time ago that you don't know, but that's about it,
Vespertilio in his Facebook.
pretty much. You ready?
I am ready.
Hopefully this ain't 2 hours long. I usually don't do a countdown, by the way. I just usually go quiet and then just start the show.
Just be like, Jen, we're starting.
Oh boy. Coming to you from the dark recesses of the proverbial Dawn Forge pouch, this is episode 248 of the Shattered Soulstone. PTR is finally coming. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get your free audiobook download at bit.ly/soulstonebooks2020. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPod, MP3 player, or your real man phone. It is Monday, February 3rd, 2020, and as much as it pains me, I'm still not dead greed. I'm still Shazam as far as I know. That's who I identify with today. Um, fortunately, fortunately, I'm not alone today. Um, I brought a person that's been on the show before, and he expressed interest to come back on the show. And when I was absent, he came on the show for me. So when Greed's absent, he's on the show for Greed this week. So this is King Tut.
Thanks for having me, Shazam. I am, of course, one of Greed's second favorite type people. So I'm glad to be here, and we got lots of exciting stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we got the developer's blog, which came out literally the day after. No, what? I think last week's episode. Yeah, I did that on Sunday. So like Monday, Tuesday it came out, and then what? Thursday-ish they dropped the PTR patch notes. So in like the 2 weeks that I didn't have any news to talk about, God forbid they drop like one of them things, but it is what it is. So let's get right to it, Tut. How's your weeks in World of Warcraft and I guess Diablo, if you have any?
Yeah, I mean, my weeks of World of Warcraft have been amazing. I mean, the reality is, I started this season, and I rolled a monk, and I wanted to try the new set, and I played the new set, and I got a GR 100 done, and I got my season conquests, and you know, got all the rewards and everything, and then you know, I'm seeing these clears, and I'm starting to look at the leaderboard, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, it was just it was insane to me how the season theme had just changed everything so much in that it was totally being exploited to get these huge GR clears, and then I'm seeing solo barbs and solo crusaders pushing GR 150s, and it was just it I had buddies that were playing World of Warcraft, and I was like, now's the time, let me give it a go. And I have been hardcore into World of Warcraft since we had alliance characters. We went US East Pagel server PvE. um I'm a barb guy at heart with Diablo, and so to me warrior was the only option, so I rolled a human warrior. It took me 16 days of game played, so that's 16 times 24 hours to get it to 60. But I made it. I found a great guild, God Tier Gaming. Joined a raid team. We have a Nixia and Molten Core on farm. We're getting ready for Blackwing Lair on February 12th. Farming a lot of arcane crystals to turn into Arcanite bars. Our lead team, main tank, has both bindings, so we got him. We did a lot of Dire Maul East jump runs to get him his 100 Arcanite bars that he needs to craft Thunder Fury. Which, what really bothers me is how amazing Thunder Fury is for a main tank in World of Warcraft, and all we do in Diablo is give it to our follower. Like, here you go, buddy. Like, if there was one item I wish that they could change in Diablo, and they've mentioned that they're willing to change legendary effects on some of these weapons, is let's make Thunder Fury great. Let's make it the weapon that you have to have if you are doing a lightning build, and let's make more lightning builds, viable. It's like almost all the builds. I mean, there's tons of fire ones. Obviously, you have Cinder Coat, you have Mage Fist, you have these items that buff fire. But like, let's get some lightning. Like, let's get some other elements going. Um, and let's make Thunder Fury great again, right? Like, I would love to see that to where and then obviously we're going to talk about the new season theme, but like, this would be a great season because you could do additional weapons. Like, you could throw that weapon into a new fresh build. But yeah, that's my weekend gaming has been all WoW all the time, and I'm still loving it. I don't regret the decision. I'm certainly going to come back for the next Diablo season, and I'm really looking forward to this seasonal theme. Um, but yeah, that's how it's been. How's your week been, Shazam?
I have been all over the place. I played WoW for a little while. Retail WoW, not classic. I I think I got to level 25 on my hunter, and then like I'm trying to catch up with leatherworking, and it seems like I keep getting further and further behind. And then cooking and stuff like that. And then I created a shaman, Drenai shaman, and she she's for some reason I have her as tailoring and enchanting because I wanted a tailorer to make bags. Because in Airy Peak the bags in auction house are unbelievably priced. It's ridiculous. So I did that for like a day or two, and then I decided Wolson's coming out in literally 2 weeks. Let's learn a little bit about Wolson. So Saturday, Sunday, I I started playing Wolson again. I started with a range character, and I did the whole beta, which is Act One of Wolson on a range character, and then got I got like a unique item, which is basically legendary or whatever in Diablo 3 as a sword. So I decided to make a melee character, and I started leveling one of them up last night. And yeah, so far it's fun. Like the story, I think is pretty good. For like Act One, like I was talking to Greed yesterday, like we were both in chat talking and stuff, and he decided he was going to start playing again. And I told him, I warned him, I was like, this first act's like 6 hours long, man. If your first time playing through it, it's like 6 hours. He's like, and then he goes and does like the first. It's basically the first dungeon. It's I don't know, it's a cave or something like that. I can't remember. And like, he's like, man, you ain't kidding. He's like, I want to go to bed, but I want to finish. I want to finish this part. He's like, it's like never ending. I go, yeah, I know. It's
That's the sign of a good game right there. I mean
yeah,
that's what we're all looking for is when it's not, it's not a job, it's not a grind, it's, you lose track of time. It's like next thing you know it's 3 a.m., right? But you were so engrossed and you were having such a good time.
like the supposedly the end game is kind of like Greater Rifts slash maps. Like the Greater Rift part of Diablo 3 versus like the map affixes of PoE. Like that's what the end game is that we all think that Wolfson's going to be. That's what it seems like. Whenever you go to Soldiers of Fortune, and every time I say Soldiers of Fortune, every time I read that, I think of Deadpool, and it's ridiculous, but they had to, for some reason they named it that, so whatever. Um, but yeah, that's basically you know my week in gaming in a nutshell. I played a little bit of Diablo 3. I got above 1300 Paragon, um, all because I wanted to finish the season journey. So like I really wanted to finish it, and I just wanted to get it over with, and I did that this weekend. Now I don't have to worry about it anymore. I got the pet, I got the portraits, I got everything. So that's basically that's basically it. Like this week is gonna be kind of nuts because I have to build my mom's PC or my parents' PC either tomorrow or Wednesday because Thursday, Friday, there's no way it's gonna be getting built because I gotta come home and play PTR. But yeah, I'm building them a PC since theirs died a couple weeks ago. I'm gonna obviously build it, put it together, and basically test it here for a couple weeks, and then if it lasts without anything, screwing up or anything, then I'll just give it to them and they can have it for like the next I don't know how many years. But for some
Right.
reason, if it's not old people proof, like
Hmm.
they'll call me for dumb reasons, and I'm trying to make it. I'm gonna try and make it old people proof. I'm gonna try and have Google Chrome on the desktop. I'm gonna try and have everything they're gonna want to use on the desktop or somewhere, so they're not gonna have to call me and be like, "Where's this at?"
Yeah, it's just nice to see people using, desktops and not laptops. Like I feel like everybody's turned into they just buy these $400, throwaway laptops nowadays. Yeah, I mean, you build them a good computer, and as long as you're using good components, I mean, it should last. And if not, I mean, something individually will fail, and you just replace it. Good to go.
This is the weird part about my parent. My dad's like, I think my dad just turned 62. I think today, and my mom's 60. I think she's 60. She turns 61 next month. But like, I bought them an iPad like I don't know, 2, 3 years ago for Christmas, and my dad refused to touch it. Right? Doesn't want nothing to do with it. He says, I don't know how to use it. I'm not going to touch it. So he goes in and just uses the desktop because he knows that. So last fall, I get him an iPad, right? I mean, an iPhone. iPhone 11. Same thing as an iPad, and he hates it. Immediately hates it. A couple days later, he wants it taken back. He doesn't want it anymore. Blah 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 blah. A week later, a couple weeks, go by, and I go home for like a holiday or something, and that's all my dad does is he's phone in front of him, and he's like a teenager again. He's like flipping through it and looking at Facebook and YouTube videos and all stupid 70s music that nobody listens to anymore because it's not the good 70s music. It's the stuff everybody forgot about. Um, yeah. Um, so I don't think he's still even touched the iPad anymore. I haven't asked my mom in a while, but my dad has his iPhone, so he doesn't have to worry about the iPad. But for some reason, they don't like doing banking and stuff on an iPad. They'd rather do it on a desktop for whatever stupid reason that is.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I guess you could be one of those people where it's like if you don't see like the McAfee logo and feel this safety net of all these various you know virus controls and everything. But yeah, it's no less safe to be checking that. But yeah, my parents are similar. Like my dad started out with like a black and white Kindle, and then kind of moved up through there, and yeah, eventually got to the iPad, and then yeah, started out with like the cheapest of Android based phones, and yeah, now he's all over his Android phone. His real man phone.
uh, Seems like every woman that I follow on Twitter all has iPhones.
Yeah, I don't. That's weird, right?
It
I
is
mean,
weird,
maybe that's the real woman phone. I mean, maybe we've cracked it.
but I love my iPhone and I will never buy an Android. I have one Android product and I'll never get another one.
Yeah. Honestly, I had an iMac for forever, and it was amazing. And it's like I sat it on my living room table so that like I could watch my big screen TV, and then had my 24-inch iPad over here so that I could do both things. Like it worked really good for like fantasy football on the iMac, watching football on the big screen, and it lasted a long time. And then I had to throw a hard drive in it. And then finally, the video card now is to where like I assume the cooling fan has failed or something as far as the cooling for the card has failed because it only lasts like a couple minutes and then the display goes away. So and I'm not even sure that you can replace video cards like iMacs, but like I still have it and I still love it and I still like looking at it. And then I have an iPad, but like I mean I bring it with me on trips, but I mean maybe I use it on the plane, and maybe in the airport, but I also always bring a laptop. I still always gravitate towards the laptop and my cell phone versus the iPad, which is just kind of in the middle, right? Because I mean, yeah, I have a what S10 Plus, so I mean it's a pretty big phone as well. I mean it's not iPad, but yeah, I don't find that much of a use for a tablet at this point.
I use mine for work. It's about work and YouTube videos on the old John. That's about all I use it for.
This is good for YouTube videos, John. I'll give you that.
I I, I bought my iPad. My iPad that's sitting right here. I really need to get it fixed. It's an iPad Pro, like the big iPad Pro, and it just needs a charging port. But like that died before like a season start. All right, 2 years ago. It's gonna be 2 years old this month, and my newer one, and like that. I would sit here and play Diablo on my big screen TV. I would hook my iPad just Bluetooth to my sound bar, which is directly underneath my camera right here, and I would listen to podcasts while I played Diablo, and I did that for like so long that I like couldn't like break myself from using an iPad on my sound bar and playing Diablo, on my TV until, God forbid, I just go on the Spotify and listen to the same podcasts without using an iPad, which I did that, a year after I got my new iPad, but now I just have no reason to use an iPad at home other than just what I said, but other than taking it to work every morning with me. Because right now, Chrysler Scan Tools is a website. A website and something you plug into underneath the dash is nothing else. It's what we come down to, and then Big Brother can watch you while you're working on cars. you know.
Yeah, we kind of have the same thing. We have this thing that plugs into the OBD2 port for our range trucks that our squadron has. Yeah, they track everything so that they know, you know, whether you're speeding or all you're doing anything you're not supposed to be doing, so that they try and get us to go easy. The old range truck.
So I guess we're gonna have to get into the developer blog because yeah, right, we need to go forward.
Yeah. So on the 28th, uh, on the Diablo site, they posted developer insights, balancing, and class set. So I guess we'll just go over some of the finer points, Shazam.
Yeah, um, they basically um, worldwide they basically took like the top 1,000 players of every of wizard, of barbarian, every class, stuff like that. Did the great old average, and they did that non-season versus season stuff like that. And this is basically what they found, kind of.
Yeah. So uh, the most important thing is that they're talking about class balance here. So we all have our favorite classes. Sometimes we feel like our classes may be overpowered. Sometimes we feel like it's underpowered. But what they tried to give us was the mindset of how they determine whether a class is overpowered or underpowered. And this is not talking about how many different builds there are or what builds are being used or anything. This is just pure. This is the solo GR level being cleared. And I think the most important thing to take away from it is that it says when balancing, we need a point of reference to work. The ideal class set performance for Diablo 3 is approximately a Greater Rift 130 solo and assumes the character has 5,000 paragon. So I don't know about most of our listeners, but I know that I have never gotten anywhere close to 5,000 paragon. The highest GR I've ever cleared solo was a GR 123. So this idea of basing performance around a goal that probably 95%, maybe higher, of Diablo 3 players have never even reached, it bothers me. It I don't know, like, to me it should be based like at 1500 paragon, right? Like, what are people doing at 1500 paragon? A reasonable amount of paragon to reach in a season. Something that most people probably have non-season. Um, what are your thoughts, Shazam?
Um, I see it. I see it a little differently than you, and we didn't talk about this obviously beforehand. But okay, this game is 19 seasons old. 19. I don't know when they changed it to every character has 100 paragon and that's the cap. I would assume maybe before season one. Don't quote me on that one. I didn't play Diablo during season one. I played it during vanilla. Took a long, long break. Came back on season 11 on PlayStation, and then I obviously played season 12 through current on PC. But just speaking of me in general, just me currently, I have I think 2,800 and some odd Paragon out of season. I will reach the 3,000 mark at the end of this season. But the last few seasons, I have very, very slacked off. Like I should be probably at 3,500 like right now. But again, slacked off. It's my own fault, not anybody else's.
Yeah,
That
I mean, if I was able to put in the same effort that I'm putting into WoW right now, I would clear 2,000 in a season for sure.
that being said, me from playing season 12 to me to playing I think 2 seasons ago, I went from zero Paragon or 100 or whatever to passing Greed and passing a whole bunch of other people that played since season one. And like then you like a couple seasons ago, like I'm scratching my head going, how did I beat that? Like how am I beating like people that went to like since season
Yeah,
one? And then
but
it like dawns on me, these people only got like 300-400 Paragon total in a season because you can only do GR 60 or 70 then, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
the big change was what 2.6.1, I think. That's when the damage modifiers went crazy, right? And so
Yeah.
when GR100s were tough, GR100s no longer became, or GR100s were now something that everybody could strive for and achieve. So yeah, I mean, that's a lot of GR level difference. That's a lot of extra Paragon being gained for every GR you clear. So yeah, it's almost like you got to separate like pre 2.6.1 and post 2.6.1, where everything just, and it's just every season it's just getting more crazy, right? Like we're getting more modify. I mean, when you look, like when we go over the PTR notes, like everything is a modifier that's just increasing damage, and we're talking, we're not talking small amounts. We're talking tripling damage, quadrupling damage. So yeah, you know it's not even really comparable. Those seasons since 2.6.1, which I guess would be the last, what, 8 seasons, 7 seasons.
Yeah, I think I was about season 12 or 13, somewhere around there.
Yeah, those there've been huge Paragon. I mean, I only started in season 16. I mean, I hadn't played since seasons were a thing, and already since season 16, I picked up a ton of Paragon. So
But then also I have to look at like on the flip side is when I was like playing like really dedicated, I put a ton of ton of hours into this game, like hundreds and hundreds of hours into like a season, like hundreds. And then
yeah,
not everybody does that. And then like I'm I'm trying, and then you got like me and you obviously that like when we're like on our game, we're on our game, and we're like at least top 200 on the leaderboard, if not higher. Like you did, like top, top.
yeah, top 50 Crusader for that one season. Yeah, and that was a lot of work. I mean,
Yeah,
I was playing Diablo almost every day, and still I only got to like 1,700 Paragon that season. So I mean, no, nowhere near 5,000, nowhere near 2,000 or 3,000. Like, you know, I mean, the real good guys that are, streamers or are playing 8 hours a day and are not cheating and not botting and not doing anything of that. Yeah, they'll hit between 2,000 and 3,000 a season. Um,
No, they're higher than that right now.
yeah,
Like way
I mean,
higher than that.
again, it's like the guys that, but I guess you still got to separate those guys into the ones that are primarily playing solo and the guys that are running GR 150s and formats, right?
Yeah.
Or if you're doing well, what used to be rat runs and now is, could be rat runs, it could be barbarian runs, there's still like the people that are doing the paragon meta and the people that are just playing a lot, doing solo and stuff like that. Because yeah, if when you're clearing multiple GR 150s, every day, the paragon is certainly going to start stacking because it's like you think now, right? Like, so let's say you get 2,000 paragon in a season. Well, when you add that onto your non-season, that 2,000 paragon turns into what? 100.
Yeah.
It's like anybody that knows or has tried leveling a character in WoW Classic, right? It's like when you start getting to those higher levels, it takes a lot to get another level or to get another paragon. Um, but we're still, I mean, we're 5,000, 5,000 paragon. I mean, and to be fair, there are people that have 10,000 paragon non-season. Those are the guys that are setting the leaderboard times, or not time, well, clears and times, non-season, right? They're all going to have 9,000 plus paragon.
But if their goal is to hit 130 solo, assuming people have 5,000 Paragon, so if you had 5,000 Paragon, they expect you to be able to clear a 130. That's it.
Yeah, I mean,
I
I,
think they're on
I
the mark.
yeah, I think 5,000 paragon and 130. I think those two things are probably. You're right. I think they're probably on the mark. What worries me is that they are setting class balances and forming new sets based around that criteria that 95% of people will never hit and never reach. I feel like they should set things up for 1,500 Paragon and what a normal person could do if they put in a good effort in a season, and then it should scale. And I mean, if it doesn't scale, I don't care, right? I don't care what the guy doing with 5,000 Paragon is doing in non-season. That doesn't matter. Nobody cares about those leaderboards. None of that matters. All that we really care about is each season and its leaderboards. And I just feel like if the reality of 3,500 difference in Paragon is going to change a build from something that is so squishy that you can't play it like a witch doctor to something that is, you know, has scaled to where like you now have so much damage reduction that you can play it like you don't even need to play defense anymore. It's just a question of can you kill these monsters or these demons in time, and that's the difference, right? At 1,500 Paragon, you need damage reduction. Like you don't have crazy amounts of main stat. Like I mean, even if you have all GR 150, level gems and augments, you still are not going to have enough main stat to where like you don't need to play defense or worry about having damage reduction rings or damage reduction armor items. So that's I think where it bothers me when they state that like that's all they look at, right? Like, well, I mean, that's not what most of us are doing. It's like they're pandering towards these top elite people.
But here's my argument with that though. What did you clear with your Demon Hunter? A 120 what?
I don't know. I think with rapid fire, the season I played it, I think I only cleared like a 118. Now I didn't go as hard as I did in the Crusader season,
Okay,
and
what'd you do in
the difference.
Crusader?
Crusader was a 123, and that was the season. That was the lawn season, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't have to wear the lawn rings. Whereas my Demon Hunter season was the season of the Triune, and the reality was a rapid fire Demon Hunter has no chance to use those rings because it's a channeling build, and you're not allowed to. So if the rings fell under your feet, okay. If they didn't, it didn't matter because you couldn't move to the rings. So my Demon Hunter build was at a severe disadvantage, and that build fell, I don't know, 5 to 7 GR levels because you lost a very important gem having to use the Lod gem, and you couldn't make use of the season buff.
But if you had 3,500 more Paragon, you could do a GR 130. I'm sure you could.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure I could too. I mean, it's already a tanky build, but so I could get rid of some damage reduction and go with more offense. Maybe then you're able to work in, something like a squirts or something to where you can take that damage from squirts and still not die, right?
But that's all they want though. Like if if you had that Demon Hunter and you had 3,500 more Paragon, you could do a 130. If you had that Crusader, even if you had the Lod Gem on, you had 3,500 more Paragon, you could do that 130. So I don't understand where you're arguing. Like I don't understand where you're mad that they're basing like
Well,
they want the sets to fall at GR 130, assuming somebody has 5,000 Paragon. You're already above that.
what I'm what I'm concerned about, well, mostly for me, it comes down to damage reduction. It comes down to like the struggles that Greed has playing Witch Doctor, or some of these builds that are just the only way you can clear these GRs is to be a glass cannon, and people not enjoying it and thus not playing the class, or in those things. If you're purely all you're looking at is way up here at this GR 130 level and this 5,000 Paragon level, where builds play differently. It's not a scaling thing. It's just that builds and sets work differently because you have to build them differently, and you have to do things differently because you don't have that main stat. It's the fact that main stat with these high amounts of Paragon scales so crazily, and that main stat is not only for defense or not only for offense, it's for offense and defense. It's just it just it I mean, and I don't know. It'd be nice if they had given us statistics, you know, that were different, right? That were at players that had 1,500 Paragon or something, and seeing how each class compares then, right? Like, it'd be nice if they at least had two data points that they were looking at when they're trying to balance classes. Because it is, right? The classes that are struggling right now, right, are Necromancer, Witch Doctor, and then um, Demon Hunter,
Which
which are all generally considered to be glass cannon builds, pretty much. Two of them are intelligence based. Demon Hunter does have some tankier builds, so it's not as much. Obviously, multi shot is more of a glass cannon type build. Um, and Wizard is still only up there because, you know, of the way Archon works in these Archon builds, where you get the shields and the toughness. Um, but yeah, it it just when I read that statement that the ideal class set performance. So I mean, they're basically saying that all class sets, like, that's what they're built for, is to be clearing GR 130s and for 5,000 Paragon levels. Well, as a player, and as most players, that means, well, so these sets, like, they're not even building these sets. They're building these sets for these guys that are doing crazy stuff. Where I just want a set that'll let me do it, have fun, and do a GR 100 or do a GR 110 with 1,000 Paragon.
this statement here, approximately Greater Rift 130 solo, and assuming the character has 5,000 Paragon levels. That all that is a nice way of Blizzard to say, without them flat out saying it, we don't want everybody to do a 130. We want top players to do a 130. Everybody else falls below that. If you do a 130 and you don't have 5,000 Paragon, great. You're above the average. But it's just a nice way of them saying we don't want everybody to do this because we don't want you to hit GR 150. That's basically is honestly that's all it's saying.
I'm just saying that I don't think it scales like that. I'm thinking that focusing
I
on that
agree.
high, it just the scaling on the low end is going to be off on some of the stuff. And we found that these new sets they've added, when they came out on the PTR, they were crap. I mean, they really missed the mark. They didn't have the damage reduction needed, or the damage output was so high. It's like they've been missing in these PTRs, and it makes me realize probably why they're missing so badly in these PTRs is that they're focusing on things in the wrong way, and that these things aren't scaling properly. I mean, think about the major changes, right? They come out with these changes to the Barb Whirlwind build, and it's crazy strong. It's still strong, but they had to rein it back in. They had to modify both the Crusader set and the Monk set after they first brought them out. So these are the first two new sets we've gotten in years, and they missed the mark on both of them and had to modify them. So now we're getting a new PTR with more new sets. And when I read these things, I'm like, well, they're probably going to miss the mark again. And and it's going to get to the point where they keep missing these marks, and especially shooting high. We're now like, well, the other old classes aren't even worth playing anymore. It's like you have to run the new class set, or you have to run the newly modified stuff, or you're not going to be anywhere near these GR levels because they're not changing the other sets. Like they're just setting these new sets to this super high standard of play.
I think I think the Crusader is going to be reined in. To be honest with you, and if
I
it's
mean, there's nothing in the PTR notes other than the animation stuff. But I mean, we'll get into the PTR notes. But yeah, there's
yeah
nothing in the PTR notes reining that in. Now the Wizard, on the other hand, we'll talk about that.
yeah
But yeah, so let's just get into the table, right? So this says assuming a player is at 5,000 paragon, which none of us are. Here's where all the classes landed on average a few weeks into patch 2.6.7 for non-seasonal play. These scores are aggregated across player leaderboard data worldwide. So what I take this to be is that the top 1,000 leaderboard scores on, the US server, EU servers, and other servers, Asia servers. This is the average that they have, uh, assuming a player is at 5,000 per. So I'm not even sure what that is. But basically it says a barbarian averages a 130, so that hits the mark, right? They're saying that's what we want. We nailed the barbarian. It's perfectly powerful. Guys are clearing GR 150s with it, but it's perfect. 130. Crusader 138. So 8 levels higher than the barb, right? So
yep
Crusader got major buffs. The they even had to rein the Crusader in before this season started. Remember that the shield had unlimited scaling and it no longer has unlimited scaling, and the Barb Crusader's still doing 130. And this is without the seasonal buff. So this is not exploiting the angels or exploiting any of the things in the seasonal buff, right? So Barbarian 130, Crusader 138, those are going to be your top dogs. Now we have your Demon Hunter at 125. So five GR levels off. The Monk is at 130. Again, Monk got a brand new set. The Monk pulling a 130 is probably going to be done with the new set. Um, Necromancer at 123. I think once Bone Ringer got rung back in, I think we all agree that Necromancer is certainly down there. I mean, it's good for speed runs, good for rat runs. That's about it. Um, Witch Doctor 130. So they haven't done anything with the Witch Doctor at all, and it's still doing a 130. Wizards doing a 130. They did make changes to the popular solo wizard build. Um, so they did rein in some of the wizard solo capability in the last few seasons. So they have 3 classes that are at 130, or no, 4 classes at 130. So I mean, obviously they tabulated this data so they can make it say whatever they want. Crusader's overpowered, the Demon Hunter's underpowered, the Necromancer's underpowered.
You can't
The
say they
two,
didn't do anything about the Witch Doctor though, because they changed all kinds of stuff for the Witch Doctor before this season, if you remember.
I don't ever play Witch Doctor, so I don't remember that stuff. But that's good. I mean, my understanding has always been that Witch Doctor basically only has the poison dart build, that it's squishy. I don't know if that 130 is being set with any build other than that build.
Yeah, but that's the build they buffed. You know, they buffed all
Yeah,
that. They buffed that build to make Witch Doctor viable.
yeah. I mean, are you talking about they buffed it after the LOD season or the lawn season?
um,
They buffed it for the lawn season, right?
yeah, yeah, they buffed it for the lawn season. Yeah,
Yeah, they haven't buffed it in the last two seasons. But yeah, they gave it some new things that would work with the lawn buff that season. So they're trying to say that, hey, we nailed it. Crusader's overpowered, Demon Hunter's underpowered, Necromancer's underpowered. But again, the focus here is that this is assuming with air quotes, 5,000 Paragon, and this is non-season.
yeah.
And then just for fun, they did a comparison table that was with the seasonal buff. And this is where they say where many players hadn't reached 5,000 plus Paragon. I don't know how many players hit 5,000 plus Paragon in a season, but that's got to be like 0.1%. I mean, I don't know how those guys are doing. But here's how the numbers change, right? So Barbarian went from 130 to 135. So what does that say? That says that the Barbarian is definitely utilizing the seasonal buff and it's giving him 5 extra DR levels. The Crusader 136. So Crusader lost 2 levels, right? So that's a weird stat, right? I mean,
I,
maybe that's saying that the Crusader scales better with Paragon, right?
I think they're full of it because if you look at the non-season and the seasonal leaderboards, of course this is average now. Again, this is
Yeah.
average. Both classes cleared a 150.
Yeah, I mean 136 and 138 are still pretty close. We'll get into that too. So Demon Hunter dropped down 1 to a 125. Monk actually picked up 4 levels. That's believable. I mean the seasonal buff is definitely worth multiple GR levels in my mind. Necromancer 118 again. That's probably because the people on the Necromancer leaderboard don't have anywhere close to 5,000. Witch Doctor dropped 10 levels down to a 120. Nobody's playing a Witch Doctor. That's probably a good part of it. Same thing with Necromancer. Like, there's probably nobody playing the class. And then Wizard stayed at a 130. So they're just, it's a table to show which classes benefited from the seasonal buff and which classes probably aren't being played or being pushed. So the next thing they get into really is that they want all the classes to be within 1 to 2 greater rift levels. Like if they're within 3 to 4 greater rift levels, they're worried about it, but they're probably not going to do anything. And if there's plus or minus 5 greater rift levels, then they're going to make some changes, right? So again, when you go back to the table, the ones that are plus or minus 5 right now are the Demon Hunter and the Necromancer. So I mean, we'll talk about it later, but Demon Hunter and Necromancer are going to have to wait a little bit um, to have those levels kind of normalized. And then the next thing they talk about is the Greater Rift 150 cap. So as I mentioned earlier, multiple classes this season did solo GR 150s. They have no plans of changing the cap or raising the cap. I mean, 4-mans can do it, 3-mans can do it, 2-mans can do it, 1-mans can do it. Um, Using the seasonal buff, again, not saying that it can be done without the seasonal buff in a solo effort. Then want to talk about the next one, the ZDPS stuff, Shazam?
Yeah, yeah. ZPS games. ZDPS is a style of gameplay some players like, but not all do. We ultimately decided it's a good that there's unique ways to play the game. We don't want to take that fun away from those who enjoy it. However, we are not also actively trying to create more ZDPS builds Our intent of design is new item powers and sets that either facilitate entire new builds, it can be used solo or in groups, or give more item support for some of the most requested class skills. Inevitably, regardless of what we add, we know the community will find combinations that we never anticipated, and we can't wait to see how these play. So, in other words, is they're not giving you items that are going to help ZDPS. They're not making a set or any sets that help ZTPS, but they're just going to keep making items, and whatever we do with them is what we do with them. They're not going to nerf them. They're not going to annihilate a ZDPS. So
Yeah, they're not upset that they exist, and I think with the seasonal buff for the next season, I think we're going to see more modifications to ZDPS. And I mean, we think of the traditional, ZDPS in the form of a barbarian, a pull barb or a pickup radius barb, and then a monk as the two popular ZDPS classes. But there are now ZDPS builds for the necromancer. There are ZDPS builds for the witch doctor. Well, maybe not as much the witch doctor, but the demon hunter. I saw some interesting ZDPS builds for the witch doctor, or not the demon hunter. And again, all it is you're looking for skills that are going to buff the party, or skills that are going to pull enemies together, or skills that are going to help another class do more damage. And what's nice about it is it's getting people to use skills or do things that aren't used in push builds or aren't used in other builds. And so yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting, and this season is going to see probably even more variations on zero DPS builds, and changing maybe what the 4-man or the 3-man meta is, which generally is always going to be one ZDPS, if not two ZDPS characters. And so the next section is talking about creative game mechanics and animations. I think the key statement is that, you know, and creative is in air quotes. So these things impede our efforts at overall game balance. And it makes it very difficult for us to change skills or items without overly punishing the whole class when these tactics aren't used. Then in parentheses it says, we're looking at you, Bazooka Wizard and Stutter Steppers. So the Bazooka Wizard build utilizes some perfectly timed skills, a lot of times used through a macro, which is against the terms of service, um, to ramp up the damage of these meteors off the Bazooka Wizard. So Blizzard knows this; they've known about it for a while. They're changing it for the next season. And then the other thing they mentioned is the Stutter Steppers, which I'm pretty sure that's people utilizing the type things like which set is it, the endless walk? It's the endless walk set, right? Where you get damage reduction or damage done based off of whether you're moving or not moving. And
yeah,
what, there's pants too, right? Depth, no,
no, depth thickers are not it.
something else too that involves it. But the other thing I would think about is like the charge barb,
Hexing
where
pants.
yeah, hexing pants, or not the charge barb, but like the Raycor Hoda build, where you're essentially charging into a wall and building up your Raycor stacks to then spend them with your Hammer of the Ancients, where you're not actively doing anything other than charging into a wall, not trying to attack the enemies, not doing anything to build stacks to then spend them, is what I would consider a creative game mechanic. So what they also say is our first area of concern will be disabling animation cancellation on certain skills, and they specifically mention the Crusader class. So I think this had to do with how high the Crusader was able to do this season with the new set. I didn't actually play the build, so I don't know how they're disabling these animations or what they're doing to, but most likely what it's doing is upping their attack speed somehow and allowing them to do an attack more often through some kind of cancellation.
Yeah, if you have a pig sticker and then you throw your little beams down so you never run out of resource, you can literally just hold the button down and well, what the hell is it called? Holy shotgun, like till your heart's content, and he'll sit there, and then it'll be like I don't know, like a Huda Barb, where it's like literally as fast as you can. He's literally throwing these rays out, and apparently they're basically getting rid of that. So every time you could hold that button all you want, but he'll sit there and go through the entire animation and then go through the entire animation. So it's literally essentially just slowing the just this one Crusader skill down. So it's gonna possibly break the new set. So we go back to playing it the way Blizzard intended us to play it in the first place.
Yeah, I think what you have to understand is that some builds are attack speed capped and some aren't attack speed capped. Sometimes attack speed, you could stack it all you want and you're not going to end up doing any more damage because sometimes, yeah, you're animation capped or there are other game mechanics that are going to limit how much damage you can do. And yeah, I mean, Hammer of the Ancients, like an Immortal King's Hammer of the Ancients build, yeah, that hammer swing starts swinging crazy fast, especially when you have like Little Rogue and Slanderer. Um, and so yeah, ultimately, if you are doing something that is somehow canceling this animation and thus what they expected the attack speed to be is no longer it and you're buffing way past it, through like using uh what's the weapon that like puts you into a serious like fury where like your attack speed goes crazy.
Echoing Fury.
Yeah, echoing fury, right? So if you start like suddenly like stacking these things or doing these things that were not expected and getting getting these crazy attack speeds because you are doing some kind of animation cancellation, then yeah, they're gonna fix it. Essentially, what they're saying. So what I get from reading that is, and you'll see some of it in the PTR notes is Crusader. They're changing the way that build's gonna work, and the Bazooka Wizard is also getting nerfed, and we'll tell you how that's getting. But we already knew that was getting nerfed. They'd already mentioned that in previous notes. They just didn't put it into this season.
Yeah, pretty much. They've been they've been telling us they're gonna nerf it for a while. They tried nerfing it season 19. That didn't fix it. Just made everybody just do the macros. Then Blizzard knows everybody's doing macros to do it, so instead of banning everybody doing macros, they're just gonna break the build so nobody can use it.
Yeah, there's no way of getting around it. Let's put it that way. You want to just go into the PTR notes?
Yeah, we might as well. Um, so PTR notes. It starts on Thursday. I would assume at I don't even know what time it starts. To be honest with you.
Oh,
So
it's not normal 7 o'clock, or
um,
just whenever the server's back up, probably.
pretty much because it doesn't say a time. So Thursday at some point, February 6th, which you guys will be listening to this on Friday or later. PTR will be up by the time you guys see this, unless you see it on YouTube, which comes up usually on Thursdays. But the the new season 20 is supposed to be the season or the Forbidden Archives, which in return, your Kanai's Cube currently, right now, has a weapon slot, an armor slot, and a jewelry slot. Season 20, you're going to either have, and I read this wrong, and a whole bunch of other people read this wrong, and then they were bummed out because they read it wrong, and then they read it the right way, and they went, ah, what the F? So essentially, you got one of each, right, in Kanai's Cube. So season 20, you could have 3 weapons, or 3 armors, or 3 pieces of jewelry. Or you could have 2 weapons and an armor, 2 weapons and jewelry. Like, you can mix and match any way you want to. You're going to have 3 slots in Kanai's Cube. Use them for whatever you want to use them for.
Yeah, the easiest way to think about it is when you go to Kanai's Cube and you click on your far left box, instead of only having weapon options, you are going to have all your weapon, all your armor, all your jewelry options. You go to your middle box, you're going to have all 3 options. You're going to go to your right box, you're going to have all 3 options. So
Yep.
that's you still got 3 spots. That's the key. You have 3 spots, but you can put whatever the hell you want in any of the 3, which is going to break things and is going to change things majorly.
Me and a whole bunch of people read this as, this means you could select 3 armor powers, 3 weapon powers, 3 jewelry powers, and then we quit reading after that. And we were like, holy shit, we can have so much good stuff. But then you read after that and it's or any combination, therefore across all categories.
Yeah. The way to think about this is, let's say you're playing a build that you love, but it struggles to kill elites, and you've always been like, man, I really wish I could use a furnace. Well, now you take away your armor slot and you throw a furnace in. So now you have the weapon you're wearing, the weapon in your weapon slot of the cube, and you now have a weapon in your armor slot. Or let's say you're running a Captain Crimson's build, and you have to have that stupid Royal Ring of Grandeur in there, and it's like you really you're still weak and you're dying, and you're like, man, I really need a Unity, and you're like, all right, again, get rid of that armor slot, which I think the armor slot is probably the one that most people are going to get rid of, and throw that Unity ring in your armor slot. Or let's say you're one of those guys like Shazam who has to have Nemesis bracers. Like, he has to have them. He loves them. But some builds don't let him use them. Well, now maybe you don't need that jewelry slot in the cube anymore. Let me throw some Nemesis bracers. That's the way it's going to play. You're probably going to swap, instead of having one of each, you're probably going to have 2 of one of them, and maybe 3 of them. Maybe you're going to go with 3 weapons. Maybe you love the furnace. Maybe you love that echoing fury, or maybe you love jewelry. Maybe you want you want to run, say, like the endless walk set, which is going to take one, and then maybe you want a flavor of time in there. Maybe you want a squirts. Maybe you want an immunity amulet. That's how it's going to change things, and the easiest way to think about
Yeah. I don't see a change in solo pushing though. I don't see it.
it. I think it's going to change some. I think small changes of, swapping, adding 1 extra ring. But yeah, I mean, let's think about it realistically. What's the most it could change things? You
I
know,
I
a furnace could change things 40% elite damage. Getting a squirts in a build somehow could give you 100% more damage. Getting a unity in a build can give you 50% more damage reduction. Getting nemesis bracers in can obviously help your GR clear levels, because if you're hunting elites, there's more elites to kill. Those are the kind of things I think about making, multiple GR level changes to a given build.
I heard this out of two different places. Heard this on the forums, and I heard this of watching Bloodshed's his Twitch thing before we did the show tonight. The Death Nova um, Necromancer. you could cube, I guess, all three weapons that you need for to max out the damage of like a Death Nova, and you just go to town and just annihilate everything. But you're just not going to have any any toughness.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I heard was the necromancer of all the classes has like the most rings. So, you could theoretically now wear 5 rings. So, if you could still run a focus and a restraint and then throw 3 rings in the cube. So, it's those weird those builds where you could do things that you could never do before that could possibly like gain multiple GR levels, get into crazy levels because they're yeah, I mean it's weird to think that there are builds that could have like 3 or 4 weapons that, really modify your damage and that you could run all 4 of them. I mean, if you're dual wielding, you could have 5 weapons now, right? That's
Yeah.
crazy.
The thing that got me, that piqued my interest, and and it's probably just going to be recycled whatever season we're up to now. Again, I can't remember what recycled season we're up to, but it says 2 new seasonal rewards are available for players who fully complete season 20 journey, including a new portrait frame and pet. And it says a new portrait frame and pet. So I don't know if it's going to be a recycled one, but it says it's new. So cross fingers, Thursday we know if it's going to be new or recycled. But last season, I think, or the season before, I can't remember, they didn't show any of this stuff, so we had no idea until the actual real patch notes came out, and we were left all waiting.
Yeah, I mean, all the portrait frames from the last 3 or 4 seasons. I mean, you get a new one with each level that you complete, and they all look about the same to me. And, I change mine each time I gain a level, and then at the end of the season, I rock whatever the last one is. But, you know, none of them like look super cool, or they're not super tied into the seasonal theme or anything. It's like there's a few of them, that people have gotten over the seasons that are very unique looking and and look cool. But these portrait frames are whatever. I mean, I like the pets. I mean, it's always nice to swap to a different pet. And there are a couple of quality of life things they mentioned at the top too. Just in that, just like last season, the infernal machines and organs are now subject to vacuum pickup. So you don't have to click each of them individually. You'll just click up all of them. Just a small quality of life thing. Crafting plans from bounty caches are now guaranteed to drop unless all plans have been learned. So I mean, I felt like they already dropped a ton of them from every bounty cache, but I don't, I don't know what the drop rate changed to now be guaranteed. But bottom line is, if you do bounty caches, you should get all your crafting plans as soon as possible.
The reason they did that is because Captain Crimson gets stuck. Like it, I don't know if they glued it to the bottom of the cache, or I don't like there's like blood soaked on it and it's stuck on there when it dried or something. So when you shake the bounty cache out, and like your Captain Crimson set never comes out, and you got to do like hundreds of them, and they still don't come out. Um, I think that's why, because Captain
Yeah,
Crimson's for some reason never drops for
yeah.
some reason.
They must have some kind of like individual drop rate chance, and just RNG being what RNG is. Even if it has a 40% drop rate, that doesn't mean that when you do it 3 times that you're guaranteed to get it. So it sounds like now, just kind of like the way you get your gems when you do GRs, like you keep doing them, you're gonna get all of them. It's not just a pure RNG drop rate chance. It's a guaranteed drop rate chance. So maybe you get all of them if you just do 5 rounds of bounties and you do every act. Maybe at the end of that you'll have all of them. the plans.
Nah, because it's based on what difficulty you complete them on, based on how many plans you get. So
Yeah. The reality is you just keep doing them and eventually you'll get them. And I mean, that's what most of us do anyway, right? You just keep doing the bounties and eventually you're like, oh, I didn't get any plans this time. I must have all of
yeah, usually, usually you got to do at the beginning of the season. You got to do a bunch of bounties, whether it be Act One or Act Four or whatever the other act is to get the Ring of Royal Grandeur or stupid stuff like that. Like I can't remember or the what the heck's the other ring? The Avarice Band.
them.
Like
Yeah.
we all need like at least a crap Ring of Royal Grandeur to throw in a cube. And we all need at least a good Avarice Band so we can, run around, pick up gold, and have fun doing, regular riffs. So we're gonna do a bunch of bounties at the beginning of the season, and then we just all trail off, unless we're, like you, and do a ton of them every week.
Yeah. I mean, I like running my bounties, just doing bounties for fun. Just keep running them. But yeah, I mean, most of us do them as part of the seasonal journey as well. You get to max level, you start working on your journey, start killing things and doing bounties. I think it's always part of one of the levels. But yeah, do whatever level you can. Obviously, the higher the better. The more bounty match you'll get out of each bounty cache. But yeah, at the end of the day, hopefully everybody, it's not like last season where they made sure that the Lod gem would drop early. They're not saying that Captain Crimson's, which is probably the one plan that everybody really wants. I mean, what Captain Crimson's and All Guilds are probably the two that actually get used the most. Obviously, you got to go kill Malthael to get Reaper Traps. That's the only other plan, right? That doesn't drop in a bounty cache.
Yeah. Every now and then, like when you do, I can't remember who you kill.
I think it's the Odious, right?
No, but I'm saying like Earlsale or one of them guys. Like they'll sometimes they'll drop the staff of herding, and you're like, why did they drop this? And then like you just throw it, you just give it to your blacksmith and you never use it. But every now and then in the season you get that plan, and I know it doesn't come from a bounty cache. I know it's coming from like one of the bosses in the game.
Yeah. And then the only other way to get them is through the.
Yes, yeah, that's a good place to get them leveling to 70.
Yeah, I mean, you could theoretically get one on your way leveling, right? Get a Goblin pack or, you know, and then just happen to get Captain Crimson. That would be like optimal, depending. But next thing in the notes, they just got one small note for classes, and it's the Crusader, which we've already talked about. Then it says Heaven's Fury, which just happens to be the build that they set up last season. And what do you know? It says the animation for the Fires of Heaven rune can no longer be canceled early. So there you go. There's your nerf to the Crusader.
I'll I'll even copy my character. Oh crap! I think I deleted him. But I was gonna say I'll even copy my characters over and just try it and see how slow it is. But I think I deleted that guy, so I can't do that. I'm sure people are gonna be complaining about it, just like the next note.
Yeah, I mean if it's your favorite build, people are always. It's just the reality. It's like I'm glad that I didn't play the Blessed Shield Crusader before they nerfed it, so like I never got the chance to complain about it. That's one of the reasons why I don't like playing the PTR is I just like it doesn't really matter, and there's no guarantee that when the season actually starts that any of the stuff we're even reading to you right now will still be the case. I mean, they
Yeah,
could decide that maybe the animation canceling was okay. Who knows? I mean, I don't see them doing that, but yeah, I mean, the reality is that they saw a problem and they're fixing
the next the next thing that got the bat is Manila channeling, and this is going to affect Bazooka Wizard, I think, but this is going to affect every channeling build that is out
Yeah.
there currently today. Bonus granted by this item now occurs 1 second after channeling has begun.
So we talked about how Bazooka Wizard currently uses a macro. And that macro is so that these skills, this channeling, can occur in this small window of time to get this huge damage increase. Well, the easiest way that Blizzard found to nerf this is just say, all right, that first second, you don't get anything. So, in the end of the day, while it is a DPS decrease to, a whirlwind barb that's a channeling build, the rapid fire demon hunter is a channeling build, you know, losing the DPS, the buff for this 1 second at the end of the day is not really going to matter because those builds you tend to channel for a long period of time, right? As long as you're whirlwinding, as long as you're shooting those grenades out with the rapid fire, you're channeling, you're doing your DPS. And generally, a lot of those builds they build more DPS up the longer you channel. So like you don't want to stop channeling, but this will nerf the bazooka wizard, and this is not the only thing that will nerf the bazooka wizard, as you will see later on.
But I'm gonna go over the barbarian set because currently it is my favorite so far. This this PTR. I'm not gonna be playing the other two. I know Greed is saying he's playing Witch Doctor, which can't keep Greed away from a Witch Doctor. God forbid he go more than 2 seasons without playing a Witch Doctor.
Yeah, and you can't keep Rona away from a wizard as much as he
Yeah,
might want to deny it. He will be playing the wizard, and he will be playing the new build, I'm sure.
but Barbarian got a new class set. It's called Horde of the 90 Savages. Um, Two-piece bonus doubles the effectiveness of shouts. Feared enemies take double damage. Um, people
So what?
on people on the forums are hoping and praying that feared turns into like impaired, like slowed, immobilized, like all them things not
I don't
feared.
think so. I think it's going to be feared only. And when I see this, I think, can I work a two piece into one of my zero DPS builds, right? Again, a ZDPS barb, its sole job is to improve the DPS of the other people. And if my battle shout is double the effectiveness and I have a way to fear enemies and then have them take double damage, now, that's huge. Like, to me, this screams zero DPS, somehow working it in. Um, and then, yeah, I mean, if you can find a way as well in push build, obviously you're gonna have the two bonus anyways. Yeah, when I read that, I'm like, I gotta find a way to fear enemies. Like, I have to have something fearing enemies.
Yeah, there's there's a passive for that, I believe, on one of the skills. You can fear enemies. There's a chance to fear.
Yeah,
I think.
and I mean there are downsides. I mean, the downsides to fearing things is that they run away from you. A lot, like you think about like a pole barb, right? Well, a pole barb's job is to pull things in, and fearing is sending things away, right? So I kind of like that in that it's the opposite of what we're used to doing. But I mean, double damage is double damage. That's crazy. I mean, in a world of Diablo scaling, double damage is crazy.
Four-piece bonus. Each stack of frenzy reduces damage taken by 5%. So, um,
By
yeah,
by default, frenzy stacks 5 times, so
correct.
you'd be looking at 25% damage reduction, and frenzy stacks really quick. So it's not one of those things where it'll take a long time to get stacks, but it falls off too. So I mean, you have to hit something to get your frenzy stacks, so you will be vulnerable while getting your frenzy stacks.
And the 6-piece set, Frenzy deals 1000% increased damage per stack. So that is what, 25,000, right?
Well, by default, it'd be 5,000.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, if you're not using anything else and you're just straight frenzying, 5,000. Now, what Blizzard has done is most of your set bonuses give somewhere between 10,000 and 20,000 damage. So when you read that, you're like 5,000. Well, that's not a lot. So, we'll get into the other chains that are going to make that bump up.
Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah. The undisputed champion. It's a belt. We've always had it. It Frenzy gains the effect of every rune. That's what currently it's on there right now. Next, it's gonna deal 300 to 400% increased damage. So you're getting every ruin, and it's adding 300 to 400% more damage to Frenzy. So we're currently at what, 5,400 damage right now.
Yeah, so Frenzy swings for 220 weapon damage, attack speed increased by 15% for each swing, and it stacks 5 times. So Frenzy on its own does 220 damage, has 75% attack speed increase, which is pretty crazy, and stacks 5 times. So that's with all 5 stacks. This is going to give you all the runes. So now you're going to get each strike has a 25% chance to throw a piercing axe that deals 300%. That's not really anything. Berserk increases fury generated to 6. So this is a generator build. Frenzy is a generator skill. You will now be generating 10 fury per attack. Um, Vanguard gain 5% movement speed for each stack. So this is a speed build now essentially, because you're gonna have as much as 50% extra movement speed. Smite, each hit has a 30% chance to call down a bolt of lightning from above, stunning. So it's now a stun build. And Maniac, each frenzy effect also increases your damage by 2.5%. So there you go. So now if it stacks 5 times, and if it's stacking 10 times, that's another 25% damage. So that while that gives a straight damage modifier to frenzy, it's also giving crazy amounts of other things this in that it gives every rune.
Oh yeah. And then the last item for the barb is Bastion's Revered, which was a two-handed mighty weapon that it made Frenzy stack up to 10 times. That's what it currently does right now. But as a PTR, each additional hit will chain to any enemy within 15 yards, and its damage is split between all affected enemies. So it becomes not a single target build, it becomes an AoE build.
Yeah, which is so like when you think about frenzy when you're leveling your barb, frenzy is a skill that a lot of people use leveling. The downside is you can only attack one, right? You've got your cleave attack that attacks more than one, or you've got your frenzy attack that does crazy attack speed and hits a single enemy really hard. Well, now not only do you get that the frenzy goes from 5 stacks to 10 stacks, it turns it into what basically almost every legitimate push build for solo needs to have an AoE effect. It needs to have a way of hitting more than one enemy. I mean, anything that doesn't has to become an elite hunter build because you can't kill trash, and if you can't kill trash, you have to hunt elites. Well, this means you can kill trash because not only are you going to have barbarians battle rage bloodshed rune, you're probably going to still stack area damage, and you're also going to have this chain effect that's going to be damaging all enemies essentially within 15 yards.
And that's why I don't want the two-piece set bonus to be feared enemies now take double damage because they're all going to be leaving anyway. So, like all the
Yeah,
enemies you
I
got
almost
there are all going to be
I
gone.
I think it's going to have to be a double mechanic, right? You're going to have to fear and then remember what I just said on one of the runes, right? The the smite rune. It stuns the enemy for 1.5 seconds. So what if you fear them and then immediately stun them? Now
Here,
you're working the mechanic, right? You're working both effects and you're getting that double damage, but they're still not able to run away from
isn't there isn't there a piece of jewelry or something where it says feared enemies or whatever jump up and down in place for X amount of time or whatever?
you. Yeah, it's the one that's different for every class. They just changed the wording on it. I
Oh,
don't
really?
remember what it's called. But yeah, I think all classes have it and it's like if but it's not if feared, I think it's isn't it tied to like using a certain skill?
Oh, I don't know.
Like if Wrath of the Berserker or something, maybe I think that's what I think it's tied. Or like with Demon Hunter, it would be um, what's the Demon Hunter skill? The long with the long cooldown.
Um,
Can't think of it. It's whatever the skill is that puts you into a high damage. Like Wrath of the Berserker for Barbarian. Um,
yeah, we put Don.
Akarat's Champion for Crusader.
Yeah, we put Don in the cube to learn.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean every Demon Hunter build pretty much relies on being in that 100% of the time. A lot of your
Ven-
barbarian builds want to stay in Wrath of the Berserker.
Vengeance.
Yeah, vengeful. Want to move on to the next build?
Yeah. The Witch Doctor's getting one, which is Greed's mailed himself back from Netflix's studio to play this freaking stupid this freaking set. It's Mondanugu's Regalia, which is 2-piece set bonus, gives Big Bad Voodoo, now follows you and lasts twice as long.
Yeah, I mean I'm not a Witch Doctor player, but all I remember is that Greed was always like waiting for Big Bad Voodoo to be up, or needing to use Big Bad Voodoo to get his stacks or do other things. So follows you and lasts twice as long sounds pretty good,
Yeah,
right?
there's a big circle on the ground, yeah. 4-piece bonus, gain 50% damage reduction for 30 seconds when you enter the spirit realm. Yes, Greed, you don't need Soul Harvester on this build. You
Yeah,
can get it on a 4-piece set bonus.
yeah. And the reality is that every single witch doctor is gonna, I mean, you're always doing your spirit walk. You're gonna do your spirit walk whenever it's off cooldown, and that comes off cooldown every, I don't know, what, 6 seconds or something. And I mean, this gives you 30 seconds, so that's crazy to me. Like, think about that if like that's the way the damage reduction was for like every other one. Like all the other ones, like you have to time it, right? Like like you get like a 2 second window where you need to use the skill or you lose your damage reduction, and this is gonna last for 30 seconds. That's crazy.
I
That's
can't
gonna. I mean, that's so amazing. It should. I feel like that should be like 10 seconds.
I can't wait for the Demon Hunters build because I can see gain 50% damage reduction for 30 seconds when you vault.
Yeah, and we're vaulting all the time, right? Yeah, that's crazy. 30 seconds. I don't know where they came up with that number because you can spirit walk a lot quicker than every 30 seconds.
And here's where we something we haven't seen in a build or anything like ever in Diablo. The 6-piece set bonus, Spirit Barrage deals increased damage equal to 50 times your mana regeneration per second.
Yeah, this is something that I think could get crazy scaling. And yeah, that's I can't think of anything else that's I mean, well, I guess you think about like the Demon Hunter and the damage being tied to your maximum amount of discipline, but that's the only other skill I can think of that's tied to a stat like that, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I guess there's some other stuff, weird stuff with Fury from Barbarian too. But yeah, that's I mean, you're gonna want mana regen everywhere you can get it, right?
yeah, you're gonna be stacking mana regen out the wazoo.
Yeah, it's gonna be like when you play the Demon Hunter, where like it's not optional. Like you need the extra discipline wherever you can get it. You have to have it.
Yeah, you need
So
12 discipline and no less no less than 12. Um, the barber they changed that. Instead of dealing direct damage, your spirit barrage now accumulates on a target when you stop casting and explodes, dealing. It used to be 225 to 250% damage. Now it does 4 to 500% accumulated damage to all enemies within 15 yards.
yeah, so that's basically doubling it.
Yeah, basically. Gazing Demise, which is obviously an offhand. Spirit Barrage gains the Phantasm Rune. Each active Phantasm lasts, and here's where it changes, lasts twice as long, increasing the damage of Spirit Barrage by 100 to 150%, and also increases the attack rate of, I don't know what the heck that word is, specters. Manitou. I don't know.
Yeah, I have not played Witch Doctor enough to know how the increased attacker. I mean, I would assume that they're not like major damage dealers, but I don't. I mean, if the attack rate of these things is tied to getting mana per second, maybe that would help a lot. Then I would think that's my guess is that somehow these things regenerate your mana.
Yeah. And they also change now also rolls with crit hit chance instead of life per second. So instead of having a crap roll, obviously always on this thing, you're always gonna have a good roll.
Yeah, I can't think of any build where life per second is something that you actually want, right? Can you think of one?
No.
Yeah, it's always the thing you want to roll off if you have it. Always. Yeah, that's a nice quality of life.
And the other new set is Wizard, which is gonna be Rona's favorite, and a few other people's. The Typhoon's Veil. Two-piece bonus doubles the duration of Hydras and increases the number of heads of multi-headed Hydras by 2. So, in other words, that one ruin, that one rune of your Hydra skill, it isn't going to do crap for it. So use any other one except for that one that only has one head. So, you know, there you go.
Yeah, the reality of this build has become that you want as many Hydras with as many heads as possible for as long as possible.
Yeah. 4-piece set damage taken is reduced by 8% for each Hydra head alive as long as there is one available. Each time you take damage, a Hydra head dies.
Yeah, and I think this ties into the way the wizard class works with its shields in that it has built-in abilities to not take damage. Same way in that it can try and utilize the Squirt's necklace. You're going to want to make sure that you've got your shields up and that you're not taking damage so that you're not losing Hydra head, losing your damage reduction and your damage.
In the 6-piece set bonus, Hydras deal 1,000 increased damage for each Hydra head alive.
Yeah, so I don't know what the maximum amount of Hydra heads you're going to be able to have, but I would assume it's in that 10 to 20 range.
Yeah. And they they changed some of the weapon Serpent Sparker, which is a legendary wand. You may have one extra Hydra active at a time, and they deal 450 to 600% increased damage. So you get an extra Hydra, so you have two, I think, right? And they deal 450 to 600% more damage. The Magistrate, which is a wizard hat. It used to be Frost Hydra. Now it's all Hydras. Now periodically cast Frost Nova and deal 450 to 600% increased damage. So they're essentially freezing everything that's around them.
Yeah, just another skill to help the wizard not take damage and not lose Hydra heads, is the way I read it.
Yeah, and it's also up in the damage. Yep. And here,
Back to Bazooka Wizard.
yeah, back to Bazooka Wizard. Anyway, the before we get into Bazooka Wizard, I don't understand why Blizzard called this build the Typhoon's Veil. Why don't they do the Marvel thing and call it Hell Hydra? Because it's like the perfect name for it. And, any other name, I don't know.
Well, I was told it was like typhoons. It's like somebody's name versus like a typhoon. But I'm not big into lore, so I'm not sure who Typhon is. But yeah, I agree that I mean, if you're doing your damage with Hydra, it would be nice to have a tie-in to that. But I'm sure Blizzard doesn't want to get into any kind of trademark infringement or any other thing.
There's stuff in their games that's tied to pop culture. I'll say that right now.
Yeah, I mean, there certainly have been, yeah, they're naming things, other things they've done.
So, Bazooka Wizard, at Sigil, the bonus granted by this item now occurs 1 second after channeling has begun. So
Yeah,
not only is channeling delayed by a second, but now the bonus from the etch sigil is delayed by a second.
yeah,
So
you're gonna
so it's
notice
2 seconds.
yeah, you're gonna notice a strange theme here, right? That all these things occur 1 second after channeling has begun. So you're like, it's like that 1 second must have been very important. And as mentioned, the reason they were macroing is because things needed to occur in that 1 second window, and it was important. And you can't do it anymore. So now in that 1 second window where all this damage was being done, all these damage multipliers from Mantle of Channeling, the Etch Sigil, and the Death Wish are no longer going to occur in that 1 second window, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, so after you get the damage bonus from Mantle of Channeling, a second after that, you'll get the rest of your bonus back from Etch Sigil and Death Wish.
Yeah, which at that point it'll be too late. So, yeah, the reality is that the Bazooka Wizard as the ultimate trash clearing build for GR 150 4-mans. Um, I assume that it's going to change into, other builds such as the Crusader or the Barbarian. Um, are going to be brought on, or even the witch doctor to kill trash.
Yeah. They did a bunch of bug fixes too, which I don't think we need to really go into them because
I mean, yeah, the main thing is the quality of life thing, right? That you know, throughout the season there were issues with adding or removing players to a group and starting new games, and it sounds like they've finally hit on whatever they broke and have found the solution, and hopefully next season we will go back to a couple seasons ago where we had no issues forming groups or changing groups or doing anything like that.
we'll blame that on the WoW auction house too. Everything else is blamed on the WoW auction house. We'll blame that on it too.
Okay. I mean, it's not like it's the D3 auction house.
But like there was so much broken stuff with the new patch in World of Warcraft, and everybody's like, it's the auction house. I know it.
I guess it could be bleeding over. It could be that Warcraft 3 stuff somehow bled in, like they had issues and it bled over into Diablo.
I think it's funny that they actually they actually released a statement about that today. I'm surprised.
Yeah. I mean, I can't believe how crazy that stuff got this over the course of the weekend and late last week.
Yeah, the point 0.8 user score on Metacritic is I guess
Yeah.
I guess it got to him.
I did a YouTube search just so I could try and figure out what the issue was on. Just typed in like Warcraft 3, and like the top 10 videos are all "Don't buy this game, don't buy this game, request refund, don't buy this game, don't buy this game." I mean, I even heard, like, I was on the WoW Classic Reddit today, and the guys were having people like leave their guild over this in WoW. Like they just like Warcraft 3 pissed them off so much that they don't want to, cancel their WoW subscription. Like even though it's a completely separate game, it's that crazy overreaction. The same people that when Diablo Immortal came out, they're like, "Oh, I'm not playing D3 anymore." You know, crazy overreactions. And the reality is it's yeah, I mean, I think we all knew that they were having issues. The reason, you guys pre-ordered this game like what, years ago? I mean, over a
Yeah,
year ago.
yeah.
So the fact that they were taking pre-orders and it took this long to even get it to come out would lend you to believe that yeah, they were having some issues and maybe it's a manpower issue, but what I what I've come to, we think about Blizzard as being this great, not Blizzard soon and we don't release things until they're perfect, and the reality is, Diablo 3 released and it certainly wasn't perfect and they worked on it and it became the amazing game that I love today. And, I'm sure they will get Warcraft 3 to where it needs to be. They've already said that they have a patch coming out soon, and, you know, it sucks, but, mistakes were made and things happen, and I'm confident that eventually Warcraft 3 Reforged will be an amazing game.
There's a lot of games that have been launched that weren't perfect by Blizzard, whether it be server issues, whether it be games broken. Obviously, this game being broken far exceeds like any other thing that you know. Everything else was basically server stuff like that, like Diablo 3. Still a meme today. World of Warcraft back in the day when you originally started, server problems, games down for like a week at a time just for them to try and fix the game, fix the server, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, Blizzard has made right with their players countless, countless times. Um, I can't say that for any other developer other than Blizzard, whether it be EA. EA can sit there and take $1 billion in microtransactions the last quarter and still release game after game after game that's utterly crap. Give one good game in years, one good game that just everybody wanted to play. 10 million people wanted to play with the new Jedi game, and everybody's like, now EA's like this big thing. No, they're still like the greedy people that they are. It's just they released one good game. Um, the what the heck's the other the Fallout 76 people. There's their their subscription is almost as high as freaking World of Warcraft, and like you go into like your private server, and it's already looted by the people that had that private server right before you got there. That's the greedy companies that like you need to like watch out for. Like Blizzard, at the end of the day, will fix this and they will put out the good product that Blizzard's known for. Yeah, but if they would have delayed this game 6 more months, you would have seen on the forums, oh, they delayed this game 6 more months. This is BS. We've been waiting years for this game. Yeah. So what? I bought the game back in like 2001 or whenever the game came out. I could wait a little bit longer. I wasn't worried. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know.
It's the same thing with D3 and D4, right? Like D3 is a great game right and they're doing great things with it. I mean, this new season I think is going to be amazing. They're adding new class sets, like they're still giving us content, and I don't want D4 to come out until it's ready and bring it out. And even then, will it be perfect? No, it probably won't be perfect. But I don't care. I mean, I'll be playing it and I'll get the best I can out, and I have confidence that 10 years from that date, it'll be an amazing game, and hopefully I'll still be playing, right?
Tell me one company that you people know of, one company that still has servers, live online servers that are available for a game that they launched in 2000. What
Yeah.
company? What
The,
company?
the fact that you can still play D2 is kind of crazy to me.
Like that's mind-boggling. Like the fact that they still care about Diablo 2 enough to leave the servers open and still have reset the leaderboards and start new seasons and stuff like that is unbelievable after 19 years. Unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, and StarCraft 2 is another good example. I mean, again, that's a game that came out a long time ago. And I still, it's to me, it's still the best real time strategy game there is. I still love watching YouTube videos of it. And that game is as good as it's ever been. Like, it's small tweaks now that they do to try and maintain the balance between the three races in that game. And, it's great. And yeah, it came out a long time ago. And they're not, I mean, sure, they have small, cosmetic and announcer things that you can buy, but they're not making money off that game. They're not making money off D3. But here we are talking about a new PTR and new sets and a bunch of development going into something that, has been out for a long time.
And it's like, and I apologize for going on this rant, but like there's so many people that blast Blizzard that like have no reason to. It's like looking at something through rose-colored glasses, going, Blizzard sucks. Blizzard sucks. I can't believe they didn't release. They're not going to release any games this year. You know, at the end,
Yeah, they might not release any games, but I can tell you they're releasing D3 content, they're releasing StarCraft 2 content, they're releasing WoW Classic content, they're releasing WoW content.
yeah,
Like,
a new
I mean,
new expansion at least.
yeah. So, yeah, there's and a lot of that stuff that, they're producing that there's no even income stream from. and that's so that they're still giving us stuff that we can play and new content, and yeah, while still working on these new big titles. And they brought Warcraft 3 out, and they thought it was the right time, and I'm sure they will continue to add everything that they promised. I can't see Blizzard, you know, over promising and under delivering in the long run.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. When it's all said and done, it'll be fixed. Call me a fanboy, call me what you want, but still no better company. And I don't care what Activision does. Activision does what Activision wants to do. They only have one franchise right now. Two if you count Candy Crush. You know, when people stop playing Call of Duty, Activision's gonna be in worse shape than freaking Blizzard is. I'll tell you that.
I would agree with that.
But yeah. Um, if you guys like lore and want to learn about new lore in the game, um,
Solid transition, solid.
yeah. um, Go to bookofgen.net. She just released her what 19th her 19th episode about the Endurance Council. It's kind of ironic. I talked about it a couple of episodes ago, and now she releases a an episode about all about the Endurance Council. So if you go to bookofgen.net, give it a listen to. It's only about 15-20 minutes, and yeah, you learn more about the game that you're here to listen about. So, you know, there you go. Um, there's a bunch of blue notes, but it's basically all about people talking in the forums and stupid stuff like that about, you know, the normal stuff that trolls and the freaking forums talk about. There's one post, there's one people they're complaining about the season theme. Obviously, they read it wrong, and now they're butt sore about how it really is, and they feel it's underpowered. And
At some point, you have to stop the creep, right?
yeah,
I mean, yeah. Are you going to be doing 150 solo? No, you're not. They overshot. They admitted that they overshot on the theme last season, but they're okay with that. But yeah, don't expect them to be like overshooting, where you can do GR 150 solo because you're not actually killing the things, and the seasonal buff is killing things, right? Like that was part of the thing that was in that developer note. Like this is going to be an amazing season, and I look forward to it.
yeah, I hopefully cross fingers. My Diablo fans build comes into fruition on Thursday, and it's awesome as all can be, and I'll be happy if I'm at least better than half the builds that are on Diablo fans about a Frenzy Barb for season 20. But yeah, I'm gonna do my first freaking build on Diablo fans about the Frenzy Barb.
What are you going to
Figure
spend all your internet money on from your Diablo fans, Bill?
um nothing. There is no money.
But you do have a Patreon.
Yeah, patreon.com/soulstone. It's Greed's favorite thing
So
to.
if you like Shazam's Diablo fans build, you can go to patreon.com and support the show and
Yeah.
his Diablo fans build. Best frenzy barb there is. Look it up.
Yeah, if you look at my Frenzy Bar build and you clear 120, I want $120 for every one of them 120s you clear.
Man, Patreon stock's gonna be up.
No pressure.
Just wait and see.
uh, do you have anything else? Anything else for the show, Tut?
Not that I can think of. Thanks for having me, and I'll be more than glad to help co-host while Greed does witch doctor like things and comedy things in real life. Got that, got that nice new contract and doing big things.
Yeah, he's talking about talk. He's talking yesterday about going on this week, talking about knowing what you have in the mail that you don't want people to know that you have in the mail. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Um, you know, and I don't know. He's enjoying it, and more power to him. Again, again, he needs some time off. He's been doing the show way too long without a break, so it is what it is. I'm a lot happier. I'm not melatonin with this episode. I'm, you know, with an extra person on here.
Yeah, definitely always better to be talking news.
Um, would you like to close the show, sir, or do you want me to close the show?
I would love to close the show.
So I'll be like Greed, and I'll say goodbye to all the listeners now, and you can say goodbye and close the show.
You've been listening to episode 248 of the Shattered Soulstone, your Diablo community podcast. Missed an episode? You can find the show blog and listen to the show archives at www.shatteredsoulstone.com. With your support, you can help the show grow. Become a Patreon today at patreon.com/soulstone. Come join us in game. Our in game community and clan, both named Shattered Soulstone, are open to anyone who would like to join. You can also join us on Discord for the ultimate team and community based experience. Find the Discord invitation link on our Twitter and Facebook page, as well as on the Shattered Soulstone website. This show is powered by you, the listener. Send in your contributions, thoughts, questions, and feedback to show@shatteredsoulstone.com. They love Twitter. Come join and tweet with them. You can find the show Twitter at Shattered Stone. Dead Greed is at DeadGreed1812, and Shazam is at Shazam081. We would like to extend a huge thank you to Medros of Dawnforge Productions for hosting our Loot Deviant show. You can find more shows from the Dawnforge at www.thedawnforge.com. Thank you for listening. Until next time, from all of us here at the Shattered Soulstone, over 247 episodes for your listening pleasure.
Dawn Forge.
Dawnforge! My favorite part.
And then you got the Greed. Yeah.
Does he do